All right, here we are. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Planet Earth. Welcome to today's sharing of Harmonize2Energize. My name is Terry Matthews. I'm a practitioner of JIN SHIN JYUTSU, which is an art of harmonizing what you can call the life energy or chi or ki as it moves congruently or not through our bodies. It was brought to the West by a teacher by the name of Mary Burmeister, who learned from her teacher, Master Jiro Murai. And she brought it from Japan to the West in the 1970s. And I started studying in 1989 and have continued to this day. It's a lifelong study, I would say, and pretty much most practitioners I know feel the same way. So this art, as I said, is about harmonizing life energy as it moves through the body. And we need to harmonize life energy because lifestyle can really disharmonize this energy. It moves through energy pathways via 26, what we call in JIN SHIN JYUTSU, safety energy locks. And they're like locks in the canal or resistors in an electric circuit. They adjust the flow, the speed and the quantity of life energy that can travel through our bodies. 26 energy locks are left and right of the spine. 3 of them are, are in our arms. And we adjust this by placing the palms of our hands, the back of our hands, our thumbs, or our fingers on these energy locks to do the adjusting. And by the way, these safety energy locks are the size of your palm, the diameter of your palm, not mine. And you have that much space, some people say 3 to 6 inches, to place your hands and allow the energy to move through the body. Now, today, as I advertised when I sent the link, is another mystery presenter Friday. And so I gave you a little clue, but anyway, we're going to find out. So I'm very excited about this. Our presenter is someone who I've worked with, who I met in the office at Scottsdale when he visited. And he has given great service to the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU, as I said in the email. I think he pretty much single-handedly facilitated the move by the JIN SHIN JYUTSU organization towards online work. Without him, I'm not sure we would have done it so efficiently or quickly. Anyway, without further ado, let's introduce to you a mystery presenter.
There I am.
Yeah, you put your camera on. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Ale. Yes, yes, the one and only Ale Palma, Alessandra Palma from Brazil. Welcome, Ale.
Thank you.
It is an honor and a pleasure to have you.
It's always my honor and pleasure to join you. Thank you.
No, this is such a gift to us, and I know many of you may be familiar with Ali because he has in the past been on us, but haven't seen him for a while. So I'm going to just say, how are you, Ali? How are you doing?
Now I have a beard.
Yes,
It's been a while.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Yeah, you look very professorial. Is that the...
Yes, do I?
Yeah, as you know, as it goes. Now, I don't know, Ale, did you want me to carry on being spotlighted, or do you want the whole screen to yourself? I'm happy to...
No, we can stay together and we can interact, and I'd like to welcome everyone that's here. I'm so honored to be invited again to join you all, and it's an opportunity for us to share our perspectives and our learnings as students of this magnificent art that Jin Shin Jyutsu is. And it always moves me that Terry's keeping the flame, you know. We started with We Are One back in old days, and here he is every week, and I couldn't be happier to be with my good friend again. And
well, Ale, without you, I don't know if I'd have reached this point in time, because my friend Ale is one of the kindest, most patient and thoroughly knowledgeable when it comes to working with webinars and much more. Actually, there's much more about Ale which I've discovered, and I don't always remember, but I know he's a very wise soul. But without him, I'm pretty sure I would have still been hiccuping through webinars, because he literally spoon-fed me. He babied me and other people, and he brought the whole online experience to Jin Shin Jyutsu. He is a terrific facilitator, and I really appreciate you, Alan. You've done wonderful work for us. So
you're gonna make me cry. Brazilian people cry, you know, we're emotional.
You know, I believe it's being authentic, speaking my truth about you, Ale, because you really do honor and serve this art. I think you honor and serve a lot of people, actually. And your energy is wonderful to experience and be with. So enough from me, over to you.
Let's go. So every time that Terry invites me for a presentation, I did the same thing last time. First thing I would like to know is how many people are live? 37 people. And as far as I could see, some long-time students, right? So if you can just give me a message here in the chat so I know that who our audience is. If you are a self-help student, if you are a 5-day student, so I can tune in some of the content that I brought.
Do you want to look at gallery view, Alain?
Review? I'm sorry?
Gallery view to see who's here?
I don't think so. 5-day student,
Yeah,
Janet.
gives you a gallery view.
Student. Oh, I'll go to the gallery mode. Wonderful.
Yeah, I was just showing you who's here.
Oh, good to see you all. Now, wonderful.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for joining us. So I imagine many of you are longtime students who are dedicated to this art and are here because of your commitment. I think that it comes a time in our process of studying and learning and embodying this art that we accept that it's going to be a lifetime journey of learning and remembering. So I imagine many of you are longtime students. And for those of you who are new to the art, please don't be intimidated by the content and focus on the practices that we are going to talk about. So there's a place for everyone in our mix here. And I'd be happy to share information and insight to support the practice of different level of students, entry students and long-time students that sometimes are able to make more elaborate relationships and connections. So as usual, I did something that always changes the field, the energy field for me. I got the invitation and I started praying. How can I be helpful? how can I be useful, and what wants to happen through me. And this morning I woke up with this insight, and I sat down and I wrote some slides, and I'm going to share a perspective, because as we are an art, we are always talking about perceptions that are not general truths, that are not right or wrong, but that are points of view, that are possibilities, always looking towards harmonizing and being the breath. So this is something I came up with. Let me share. So hope you can see that. Let's see. Who's here? Is it working, Terry?
Yes, yes.
Zoom has changed so much since the good old times.
Yes, yes, they keep updating.
So regulating anxiety. I don't know if some of you during the pandemic and even after the pandemic developed or faced people who were struggling with anxiety. For us here in Brazil, we had a rough time, and some people really stayed at home for a long time, myself included, for almost 1.5 years. So, and I noticed that even my clients and myself, we were developing a different kind of sensitivity when going back into the world. For things that were used to be normal, like going to the supermarket, going to catch a plane, and then I started noticing and started experimenting some practices with myself and with some of my clients who were struggling with anxiety. So I would like to share some self-help. And I Googled the dictionary for this word, and I believe I got it right, Terry. If I don't, please help me. Sheltering flows, flows that are embracing, flows that give you safety, flows that give you a safe space to be. And to harmonize sensitive beings. And I believe that if you are here today, it's very likely that you are a highly sensitive being and activated clients. When I talk about activated clients, I'm talking about the perspective of the autonomous nervous system, that we have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And when we are in fight or flight mode, fighting this invisible virus, fighting the lack of relationship and the emptiness that many people felt. So when I'm saying, when I'm talking about activation, I'm talking about a nervous system that went into that alarm mode, that is struggling for safety and is out of rhythm, is out of breath. And then we have the wonderful practices of JIN SHIN JYUTSU that are going to help the parasympathetic autonomous nervous system to release the energy that we held mostly from our waist up. So I started with this. Every learning is the study of relationship. And I believe many of you are familiar with this quote from Mary. I got it from What Mary Says, which is available at GSJ Inc., as always. And I wanted to talk about some core principles with you. Maybe you can tell me in the chat if you have ever experienced something. I'm seeing here in the chat, Eileen says the sound's not working. Can you hear me well, Terry?
I can. I think it's her particular sound on her machine.
Okay, thank you. So we have lots of people who have done 5-day classes. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And talking about the principles, I got this quote from Master Jiro, which says, the breath is the ultimate harmonizer. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation that you are so impacted by something that you can't even remember to hold even a finger or a safety energy lock. And I've been there once in a while. And this quote was so supportive of me getting back to my center, because there were times that when you're feeling anxious, that you're so activated that even touching yourself sometimes is not comfortable. So I just went into the breath. So let's remember that the breath is the ultimate harmonizer. We can touch, we can have flows, we can have safety energy locks. However, our foundation is the breath. So if we stop for a while and come back to our breath and to its movement, as Mary said in her introduction of the core principles, as above, so below, and down the front, up the back. If we just catch up with this awareness of the breath, being aware that when I exhale, energy goes down the front, and when I inhale, energy goes up the back. And if I have too much energy stuck either in my head, either in my chest, feeling the anxiety, I need to open up the energy below my waist so it can flow down and give me space, breathe again. And when we think about the Trinity, composed by the main central, left and right supervisors, and in some extent also for the mediators, we have that blueprint of how the energy circulates through our body. Many of you are totally familiar with this. So in the main central level, energy goes down the front, up the back, and it's our source with a capital S. And then when it starts creating our body, when it gets to the pubic bone, it opens up into two branches, which are the two supervisors. Left supervisor builds the body, right supervisor cleans and repairs the body. And we know that the left supervisor is more connected to fifth and second depth elements, fire and air. And when we are talking about anxiety, sometimes there's a lot of fire, too little earth, we are not grounded, and too much air in the thinking. And if you get fire and oxygen, you're going to get a big flame. So when we think about the Trinity, we think about helping the supervisors with the sense of alignment. The main central, we are being in our center. Left supervisor with the exhaling aspect of the breath. Right supervisor with the inhaling aspect of the breath, letting go, exhaling, and receiving renewed energy. And then we have the mediators, which bring about the aspect of movement in harmony. Do you know those ladies who used to bake cakes that they would grab their bowl and they would move the dough in their hearts, you know, this movement, this activating principle, integrating the elements in a peaceful manner. So whenever we want to bring about harmony, we need to think about the mediators. Then we have the 70 body function energy, the organ flows, and the depths that Mary brought to us. First depth being skin surface, second depth, deep skin, third depth, the essence of the blood, fourth depth, we have the muscles, and fifth depth, we have the bones, sixth depth, we have our glands, we have our spine, we have and our source, our connection to the source. And if we put together the concept of spirit, mind, and body in the process of becoming a student and a practitioner of this art, we begin by having some awareness of the principles. We go to a class, we listen, we understand, or sometimes we don't understand. It takes a while for us to understand, but we start developing awareness of how we are breathing, how we are moving, how we are thinking, and we start observing when we desynchronize from this harmonious state. We start observing what is going on. Am I lacking a sense of center? I have the main central. Is my mind racing too fast? I have my left supervisor. Am I confused and my thoughts are all mixed up? I have the mediator. So we start making connections and relationships between how we perceive ourselves, instead of judging ourselves, but observing ourselves, being the witness of the current state of the breath and the current state of our presence. With time, we start understanding and connecting the principles to what's going on in our bodies. This happens through study, in classes, reading books, through self-study, and each time you give yourself a flow, each time you hold a finger, you're studying your source material. You're studying how the energy moves and what happens when you connect to these principles that are being invited into that moment, into that combination of safety energy locks or fingers or toes. And then as the years go by, we have the awareness, we have the understanding, and we have the embodying through the application and our daily living. So we are not just parrots repeating concepts. We are artists who know more about ourselves, and artists who are able to provide yourself the nourishment and the protection that you need for your presence to be in this here and now. So this is a quick thing to remember. And I thought of a fluid structure to share with you today that I found it to be very comforting, extremely deep, and vastly rich in the insights it brought me and to some of my clients. So when we talk about giving ourselves a session or a hold, sometimes we go with the easy thinking, like I'm going to hold the finger, and that's okay. It works, it helps. We listen to thousands of stories of people holding their fingers and transformation happening. However, being a little more sensitive than the average people in the world, and having received flows from different practitioners, I tested many things on my body to get to know what that did to me. And I encourage you to follow this approach. So test everything that we are going to propose on yourself. Feel if it makes sense to you. Back in 2014, Terry was there with me. We had our first class with Sadaki Kato in Scottsdale. And some things were named that changed dramatically my approach to giving sessions. I remember giving a session once to a man that came highly activated. He was, he was dealing with a problem at his work. He was restless, his arms, his eyes, his breath, and he lay down on the table and I said, okay, mediator. And when I started giving him the mediator, he started scratching himself and becoming kind of reddish, and he had to sit down and take a breath. And I saved that. I said, interesting. And then Kato proposed something that started making sense for me, and something that makes sense for me every day since then, because I started doing that to myself. When I think of giving me comfort, support, nourishment, and protection, I can have a fluid structure that's going to be guided by pulse listening, or body reading, or both combined. So we'll be talking about exhaling, letting go, and opening up space to reorganize the energy according to its original blueprint. Because attitudes, they happen when we are out of sync. We are stuck in attitudes when the mediator keeps us out of sync with the Trinity. And then we have organ flows that sometimes, what's the word in English? Merge, overflow, reverse, increase, right?
Yeah.
So he proposed, Sadaki Kato, he proposed a session like an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. So we could look at the whole session as a whole and prepare the body for the adjustment, and then taking that adjustment to the Trinity level so it is connected to our blueprint. So that adjustment is not just for the moment. It can be recorded, in my words, saved in our 6th-step level. Something that we adjust, and just like we do online, we click the button save, and we can hold that new pattern of functioning. So my thoughts and my experience with the first course, when I was facing anxiety, either with myself or with my clients, before going to the flows, before giving the main treatment, let's say, like sometimes like a 2021, 22 or stomach flow, I would think of preparing the body and helping the descending energy. And after I started doing this with my clients, I never had a client with discomfort in bed again. If I remember well, from the stories I heard from the faculty, Mary would always start her sessions with a one flow. And sometimes we take the basics for granted. And that's her way of saying, let's prepare the body for the session. Let's open up space so the energy can move in a way that it's fluid and calm. And symptoms don't need to emerge like coughing, like scratching, like itching, like sometimes even crying. Those kind of cathartic releases that sometimes happen. And what I found in my practice is that if I really pay attention to this preparation of the body, I wouldn't experience discomforts in myself, and my clients would relax much, much, much deeper than they used to before. And I wrote some possibilities for self-help. We have the one flow that we can adapt from text one. We have the one hold from self-help book 2, which is kind of different from the one flow that is in the textbook. And we were given this adapted one flow called escape route, a descending one flow. And I've heard of this flow from different teachers with different names, as the hospital flow or the hospital one, or the descending one flow, but the escape route one, which is kind of different. We know left supervisor, focus on exhaling, right? So it brings the energy down from the head to the feet. If we hold, and I really love this flow, and I have to talk about it today because it was like, it worked like magic for me many, many, many different times. So we get our left hand and we put in our left safety energy lock number 1. And it stays there for the whole flow. Then we hold with the right hand, we hold the left 5. We stay there for a while. Then the left 6, we stay there for a while. Then the left 7. So it's 1, 5, 6, 7. Super easy to hold on yourself or to give it to a client. You sit on the left. 1 with 5, then 6, then 7. Super easy. You can also have the high ones. You can cross your hands in your thighs. It's also descending. You can get the 5, 6, 7, 8 flow, and you can adapt it if the person has too much energy up the waist, panic attack, the head full of energy. Sometimes if you touch it, you will feel the heat. Sometimes you feel waves of heat leaving the head. Then you can give a 5, 6, 7 flow without the 2 last steps. that it will promote this opening as an entrance, as a preparation. You can give a 5, 6, 7, 8 flow normally in other circumstances. I'm talking just in this case as a possibility of preparation. Another thing that helped me very much is a little twist with a lateral 25 that you get your thumbs in the 25s on your sit bones, and you point your thumbs towards your feet. Do you know where the stitch of your trouser is? So you can place your thumbs in the line of the stitch. Sometimes staying there for 20 minutes doing this was just a rebooting, a huge relief. If you haven't tried it, try it, then let us know. And we have the left and 25, 1125, which is a quickie for the supervisor. And as I told you, if we're talking about the left side, we're talking fire and air. We're talking about mental, emotional balance. So it's interesting if we think of a left 1125 on self-help, or you can give a diaphragm flow for your client. You can also adapt the first step of the diaphragm flow. Let me see if I can show it here. So your left hand gets your right 19, and your right hand gets your left 14. You can also adapt it for self-help and staying there for a while. Letting the energy move. Being the awareness of the breath, of this movement of opening up space for the energy to be able to go down. And diaphragm, you know, it's going to open the waistline, it's going to be really helpful and comforting. Another option, sometimes we are on the road and it can be weird to hold something like 1125s if you are in the airplane or on the bus. You have the first hold, the first mudra, the finger hold. We know it helps gallbladder, it helps the energy of the head to go down. And we also have the third finger hold, which we learned this way, but in some drawings from Master Jiro, it can also be experienced like that. So you have options: fire and air, fire, air, and blood essence. So small intestine descending, large intestine descending, gallbladder descending. Huge action to release the abdomen. So the energy can go down from the head towards the feet and open up the chest. So these are some options for you to explore. So I'm going to what the awareness is. I know, I feel there's a lot of energy up here. And it needs to move. If I want to feel balanced, centered, grounded, energy can't be stuck just above the waist, right? It needs to go from the head to the feet, from the feet to your chest, from your chest to your fingers, from your fingers to your head, and so on. So if you pause and you prepare the body for adjustment, you are opening up space So the mediator can flow, the energy, the body function energy flows, they can also fine-tune and come back into track. Much, much, much easier without discomforts. It happened to me a lot. I used to have terrible migraines. I arrived in JIN SHIN JYUTSU with a long medical record, right? Terry helped me so much with the migraines and so many sessions he gave me in Scottsdale. And sometimes I would receive a bladder flow and I would have a migraine episode right after that flow. And I said, how come? It's a descending flow. And the awareness of preparing my body before giving myself that bladder flow, it changed my experience. So I don't know if you, people have different levels of sensitivity. Some people, you know, they're resilient or they're tough skinned. And there are other people who feel a little different. And if you are more like I am, then sometimes I feel too much, this can be helpful to add in your practice. And from here, we can go to our main course. And the main course is going to be, we have thousands of options according to the pulse listening, to the body reading. So you give yourself escape route, a preparation. Listen, stop, go inside, breathe, and listen to your pulse. Who is the harmonizer? Without watch, you listen to your pulse and look for the harmonizer. Some possibilities to help harmonize anxiety from my experience. They've been the 2021 and 22 flow. And the first 3 steps are perfect for self-help. And I highly advise you to check your 12s. If you don't know this flow by heart, it's one hand in the 12s and the other 20, 21, and 22, right? And the opposite. So explore your 22s. Which one is asking for help? Where is the tension? So you can apply the jumper cable and bring harmony to that area. And in anxiety, sometimes it gets mixed with anger as a defense mechanism. Sometimes we're angry about something or someone. So if you notice that there's a state of anger towards something outside yourself, a person, a situation, it might be interesting to help your left 12. And sometimes when we are anxious, we start making some, I wouldn't say bad, I would say these harmonized choices. Or sometimes they're not even choices, there's just automatic responses. They're not conscious, aware decisions. But sometimes we tend to be self-destructive, overworking, over-preparing, overthinking. And if there is an aspect of self-disrespect, of self, you know, you're being cruel to yourself, please give lots of love to your right 12 here. The second option is better if you're going to give it to a client. I learned this from Philomena, and I had kind of a month ago, I received a new client, and I had never seen such a state of activation in a person, ever. I mean, the lady was she was fighting for dear life in front of me. And I opened up with the 1 descending flow, and then I did this, a 14th flow, a left one, followed by a 13th flow. We know the 14th flow helps the sympathetic nervous system, and the 13 helps the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's a beautiful combination for people suffering with post-traumatic stress and depression, anxiety. It is deeply soothing. And if you haven't received it in this order, and you have a practitioner that you see, ask for this experience of opening up escape route, 14th flow, 13th flow, and see how it feels. It's amazing. And of course, according to the pulse, we have stomach flow, which is going to deal with first step, worry, anxiety. We have the gallbladder flow, which is also a phase flow, which talks about mental, emotional balance. Bladder flow, so we have gallbladder being born here, we have bladder being born here, we have stomach being born here. So if you give yourself a 20, 21, 22, you're helping bladder, you're helping stomach, you're helping gallbladder, you're helping them all. But sometimes when we listen to the pulse, the need is not descending, even though the symptoms are of anxiety. And one thing I noticed is that sometimes the person is so tired that there's no energy to rest. And then we have the spleen flow to help us. So the spleen flow is going to bring about that energy the nervous system needs to be able to let go. Have you ever felt anything like that, that you were so accelerated and so exhausted, and you say, I want to stop, and there's no energy for you to stop, or even to fall asleep? You're so tired, you can't fall asleep. Maybe that's a spleen moment. Listen to your pulse. Listen to what it tells you, who the harmonizer is. I also thought of the kidney flow because it helps our heart rate. Sometimes when you're having a panic attack, your heart is pounding. And we have small intestine and the umbilicus flow. When we give a 13 flow, we have the small intestine in there. Umbilicus flow is also in there when you give a full 13 flow. And we have the first method of correction. And one thing I noticed, and I would like to share that with you, if you get the old 1979 version, there's a drawing which shows the reversing of the energy from safety energy lock 7 in the left foot going up to safety energy lock 1 in the left knee. So as a preparation for the first method of correction, it's much useful if you open up a escape route, like I said, with the 1 flow, like 1, 5, 6, 7. You were helping that reverted energy to go down, so there's a space for the mediator to regulate. And the mediator doesn't need to create lots of movement, sometimes emotional movement during the session. And I don't know if you ever tried to give yourself the first step of self-help, like the 11-22. So you have everything on your left side, which is kind of amazing. And if you want to make the experience and try for yourself, see what happens if you just do it straight for the first step, or if you prepare with something from the previous list, either a crossed one, one flow, self-help one, thumb, whatever helps the one for the energy to go down. And then you have here the first method of correction. During anxiety times, when you're home, when you can have some space for yourself, and you just stay there and feel what happens. And then these are some possibilities. There are many others, but these are some for you to try. And then I learned this in a study group here in Brazil with Margaret. And I would like to share that with you as kind of dessert after the adjustment. If we get our answer sheet from Mary, and we get the drawing, this drawing is by our dear, deeply missed Ian Harris, with the depths in her head. How can we reroute the energy in the head so it works in a more fluid and functional way, according to the blueprint? So, back here, it's above your pores. You have a whole area of third depth in the back of your skull. There are some ancient texts that show even a sweet spot for the main central and 2 sweet spots for each supervisor, like a triangle here. And you can give this to yourself, you can give it to your client, and you go there. And now it's a good time for you to practice awareness. I'm holding the third depth area. I'm holding a place where the energy, new energy, comes in. Where it opens up my inner sight and can start the movement with harmony. Third depth is responsible. There's a major relationship in the head with the third depth, but this area back here, more specific. So if you're following me on the star, we go from third depth to second depth. We have the frontal lobe, energy comes here. We stay there for a while. So energy gets into the body, now we breathe. After we breathe, we need to eat. And then we have all this lateral area that we can hold to help first step. After we eat, this is going to circulate to nourish the body. Fifth depth. And fifth depth is in the center of the head. So you can have the first step of the main central. After each cell eat, after each one has their energetic and physical meal, we need to clean. Then we have fourth depth. Then we go to the fourth. We can hold the fourth. And after the fourth, we go back to sixth depth. And if you were applying on someone else, you may align your thumbs in the lines of the supervisor with your fingers in the sides of the head. And sometimes you don't even need to touch it. You can do it like this. When doing this, I invite you to be mindful with your breath, your client's breath, with the quality of your presence. So I'm here and now. I feel my breath. My heart is here. Down the front, up the back. I'm a jumper cable. May light flow through me. This quiet invitation for the underlying harmony to emerge. There's a quote, I know it in Portuguese very well. Terry can help me if I mistranslate it. But there's an underlying pulse of harmony beneath every disharmony. So when we stop and listen, we are listening for the underlying harmony, what's under all the mess, all the anxiety. So my presence, in my breath, there's an openness that is inviting the harmony to emerge. We are there. This is, for me, it is deeply sacred. So you're listening with your full being, you're listening, the pulse, the vibration with your fingers. With the breath, you're listening. It depends on what you're doing, but when you're doing that to the head, you're listening to the depths. And remember, if it doesn't feel good, leave it. Fluid structure. Structure is just a possibility. You can try another one. Maybe not that day. And then allowing time and space to rest after the session. So this is something I'm kind of in love with. And I've been finishing many sessions of my clients, giving them this sequence in this awareness, inviting the energy to flow through the depths in the head, in the harmonious, or let's say in the blueprint, original pattern, as if we're helping the energy to come back to its normal course of transformation. There are other subtle possibilities. When you are giving yourself like this transformative flow, when you have more time and space to go inside, you can finish it with one step of the main central, even a favorite one. My favorite one is here in between the 14s. You can help the supervisor again with 1125s. It's a supervisor quickie. And you can also have the high 19s with the opposite high one as a quickie to the mediator. And when I'm going to say something weird in English, but when I am this, it's not that when I am doing this, when I am this, when I am this awareness, when I am this hold, when I am this connection, this quality of awareness, I'm talking to either to my blueprint or having this conversation through the light with the blueprint of my client, so that the blueprint may receive and hold and record that adjustment, so that the main central may generate energy, left supervisor build the body, right supervisor rebuild the body, mediators bringing harmony to every aspect of the person, following this new or this rewoven, resynced harmony. As if I'm saying, now, now I'm talking to the personal source, or to my personal source. So may I receive and hold this as a new way of functioning. So this is my 3-course meal for anxiety. I've experienced many challenging moments during these last years. And these sequences, they have been really helpful for myself and for many of my clients. And my wish in sharing this with you is, after you do that, stop, look within and listen, and see if you notice any changes when you apply, when you do it on yourself. I encourage you to keep exploring and experimenting. For us long-time students, there's a time when we start being the artist, that we not only understand, but we embody the principles. We are the living awareness of the principles. And then we can start getting creative according to the principles. And be your own testimony. You're always learning. Every time you give yourself a self-help, every time you have the opportunity of a new beginning, to be the smile and enjoy being here and now in a fresh perspective, and have fun, because I feel that's what we came here for. We came here to be, and we can be harmonious, we can be healthy, we can be prosperous, we can be loving, we can be kind. But in order to be, we need to be regulated. And for sensitive people, being regulated depends on being nourished and having protection. And this fluid structure, for me, was a pattern of nourishing and giving protection with this connection with the source. Well, I didn't think I was going to take that long, but I hope it was useful. I said, this is 25 minutes.
I was like going, I'll have to bring it back. But just if looking at the chat and personally, this was very enriching, LA. It was very enriching. A lot of wisdom there that I hadn't caught before. I remember Siddhartha's class, and I remember certain of those things, but you've embraced it and reminded me of things. I'm like, whoa, and different approaches to the escape route and things, which I wasn't familiar with, this extended number 1 flow. So I can see by the notes in the chat room that a lot of the students here have gone, oh yeah, and they're taking pics. There will be a replay, folks, just in case you were worried about slides and things like that. So you can always go back and listen to LA's wisdom again. I'll get that up within 24 to 48 hours. You know, Ali, this is just so rich. I had no idea. Ali and I didn't discuss this before.
No, I prayed. I'm telling you, I prayed, and I said, I'm going, because I always bring self-help here. And this time it was so different. I said, I think long-time students are going to be there.
Yeah, you were right. Perfect. And you know, it'll be wonderful to have you back again, because I've realized just watching you now that you have a lot to offer, even more than I thought before. So, you know, and you've done a lot of experimenting on a particular issue, particular challenge, which I'm sure is very pertinent to a lot of people, including myself. So I hate to draw this to a close in a way, but I have to, because time is of the essence for me at the moment. But you know, just looking in the chat room, I see so much gratitude.
I am grateful.
And
if this is useful for you, I feel blessed.
Oh, extremely. You know, Ali, when I download the recording, they download the chat room. I'll send you that.
Thank you.
So you can have a look at what everyone said.
Thank you very much for being here with us and for coping with me. So talkative.
Oh no, I'm always happy when the presenter does it all. It gives me a break, and I'm learning. So thank you, my friend, and thank you everyone for being with us. Those that managed to stay, I think we more or less had the same amount of people at the beginning. A few had to drop off. That happens. But, you know, as I say, you get the replay. Alain, I don't know if you want to quickly invite anybody to contact you, communicate with you. If you do, you know, I don't know.
Yes, here in Brazil, I offer regular sessions here in my office in Florianopolis. If you ever come here to this beautiful island on tourism and want to give yourself a session or an intensive, like a 3-day combo, it is so refreshing. The island is a blessing. It's Hawaii-like.
Yeah.
Just come in March. Do yourself a favor. Don't come in other times of the year, but come to Florianopolis, and I'll be honored to receive you here. And you can reach me in my email, Alessander, which is my name, @gmail.com. Thank you.
There you go. I'm not necessarily going to write it in the chat, because some people have suggested that once the recording is there, when they see that information, it could be spam. So let's spell it out. Alessander, ALESSANDER, @gmail.com, yeah?
Sure. I also wrote here in the chat.
Oh, you did? Oh, it's okay, yeah. It's all right. It's fine. I don't tend to worry about things like that, but someone brought that to my attention. All right, everybody. Oh, Yoli, yes. Ioli was here. Those of you that are familiar with Ioli. I didn't see Margaretti, but 2 Brazilian instructors. So thank you, Ale, again, and thank you everybody for joining us. And we look forward to the replay, and at some time in the future, to be continued, I hope.
Hopefully.
I really do. Yes, yeah, this is great wisdom. All right, everybody, I'm gonna have to end the session. Take care. Let's just put you in gallery view.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Oh yeah, there's a few of you showing your faces still. Take care, everyone, and I'll be here same time next week for Harmonize2Energize. And then a week later, we have another mystery presenter. After months of not having too many, now there's a flood. The harvest has arrived. So thank you, everybody. Take care, be well, be safe, and let your anxiety, exhale your anxiety, let it descend, and fill yourself with the calmness, which Ale, by the way, exudes. I hope you'll agree, a very calm presence. All right. I hate to do this, but I gotta do it.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Take care.